Welcome to Sheffield Hopcast. It's another week of lockdown. We're well over a month now. Is this the fifth one that we've done? Something like that.
I think so, yeah.
We've got another special guest this week, and we will meet him shortly. However, we appear to have a new person on our panel. This rather young-looking, fresh-faced chappie who, on his little name label, it says Sean. Not sure who it is. Thanks for joining us, whoever you are.
It's actually Sean's 29-year-old nephew, Seamus. I'm over here from Ireland on holiday. He's not feeling too good, so I've stepped in for him.
Well,
my favourite uncle, by the way.
It is good to see that your shears arrived and that you are now less you were looking a little out of control, I must say, last week, so it's good to see you looking nice and fresh this week. We agreed this week that the theme for the beers would be there is no theme, so it's a bit of a free-for-all. So Sean, what are you bringing to the table?
I didn't do a good job in bringing that many beers home this weekend for some stupid reason. So I've had to raid my stash. Remember 2 weeks ago, I had to do an emergency raid for a Yellow Belly because of the landlord debacle. And so I've had to raid my aging stash. So I've gone for a Fuller's Vintage Ale. It's the annual release that they've done each year since 1997. They produce a strong ale. The 2016 version is an 8.5% barley wine using Nelson Sauvin hops. I've just had a look on their website about an hour ago. It's a 30 quid bottle. Currently 30 quid. The previous years, 2013, 2012, are now £100 each to buy.
Wow.
I took that in 2012, about a year ago. To my absolute disgust, I don't know who bought me this bottle. It was a Christmas gift, I believe, but I've not written on it anywhere. So apologies to anyone who bought me this. But I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well,
we can take credit for that. It was us. We bought it for you, Sean. You didn't buy us anything back, so if you could just pop us something in the post, that'd be great.
Yeah,
good value. When I left Barnsley College back in 2013, one of my colleagues kindly bought me a 2012 then, and I've sucked that, Martin, one of the head chefs. So this is a 2016. So this was bought for me by, I'm sure it must have been a family member, since we'd opened. So I really am looking forward to it.
I suspect that it also takes the crown for the most expensive beer that I think we've had on the podcast at 30 quid.
Yeah. It's worth going on the Fuller's site, actually, to look at the various vintage ales that they've got and the various prices that they're asking for some of the rarer ones. So I was taken aback to see that they were selling this one at £30. But I'd already got it in the fridge and all ready, so my instinctive tightness made me think, oh no, I better put that back. But I'm going to go for it.
Good stuff. Now, repping Tobys Brewery, because Laura, it's Laura.
Hi. I've got Left-Handed Giant Brew Pub. Cashmere and Citrus Sour, 4.5%. It's part of their dual hop series. It's the first one I've tried of the series, actually. But yeah, in a lowish ABV sour, so quite excited to try it. I bought this one just after lockdown had started when we went up to Archer Road. Which is I think the closest one to us, so we can very easily get there on a walk.
Yeah.
So I've got my my most craft glass today as well, from the tour we did of the Russian River Brewery last year. So harping back to a holiday.
For the benefit of anyone that's listening to the podcast version of this rather than video version of this, the Towside reference was because you are wearing a Towside t-shirt.
T-shirt, yeah. I feel like every week I'm going to just make an effort to be wearing a nice brewery t-shirt now, because I've done it I think I've actually had one on every time. It's probably about 80% of my wardrobe is beer clothes, to be fair. But yeah, nice to have an opportunity to show them off. And you know me, I like to shoehorn Torside into anything and anything I can. So
Of course.
why not?
If you are watching the video version, then you'll already be able to see that in some beautiful colour coordination, Adam is here with his Turning Point T-shirt on, baby blue background, baby pink T-shirt. I mean, it's quite remarkable.
Yeah,
Cream door in the way kind of spoils it a bit, but you know, apart from that, it's good. It's keeping it rustic, keeping it real.
I've not got the blinding sun coming through the window today as well. So yeah. So my beer is. You've got the most expensive. I think I've got the most sought after / longest time to try and find beer. And it is the beer that I once thought did not exist. Doom, doom, doom. It's North's Lost Cosmonauts from Tesco.
Right. Bollocks. Talk among yourselves for a minute. I'll be back.
Yeah, we've joked about this for like months. It feels like, how long's this been apparently in Tesco? A year? 6 months? First time ever seeing it. So
to go to Stoke to get one.
Weirdly, not in like an overly fancy Tesco. It wasn't even one of the small ones, but like Infirmary Road down off Aylesworth. So yeah,
reasonably fresh, Adam, or has it been there 6 months to a year?
It's not been there 6 months because I would have seen it. I don't know if. Oh, hang on. Best before November. I don't know. It doesn't tell you a canned date. Oh, hang on. It might do. Packaged 10th of February.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right.
It goes quite nicely with your T-shirt, actually, Adam.
James is back. Where's he been?
Well, it was nearly very awkward.
I wondered if that's what had happened.
Because I too was like, managed to find this beer that no one else has been able to find in Tesco. Except for Adam, obviously. But it's all right because I've got a more than adequate substitute beer out of the fridge, which comes from actually not that far away, just down the road in Sheffield. It's St. Miles of the Desert. Is it Colit? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's just Cool It, I think.
Cool It. That would make more sense. New England IPA with Idaho 7 and Chinook. 5%. It's a rebrew. I'm guessing most of you probably had it when it was first out last year. Probably was about a year ago. But yeah, being rebrewed, fresh back in the shops this week. I'm trying to see if it's got a canned on date on this, but it doesn't.
I think if you're not sure if you got a new or an old one, I think they've started adding a splash of colour to their can labels, haven't they? I think the old one was just straight black and white. I think that might have a bit of green in it now, has it?
It does have a bit of green in it, yeah. It's definitely the new one. So I'm guessing probably brewed in the last week and a half, 2 weeks,
Probably, yeah.
max. I would imagine.
Yeah, canned early last week.
I bet it'll be better than the North. So yeah. I'm not bothered. It's fine. Right, good stuff. So we have a guest with us again this week on the Hopcast, and it is a hop buddy because from Hopzine, it's Rob Derbyshire. Hi, Rob.
How you doing? It's a great pleasure to join you.
Well, thank you very much for giving up. I know everyone at the moment, everyone's so busy at the moment that finding the time to do something like this, I know is quite a challenge. So thank you very much.
It's become my kind of like Sunday afternoon routine. As pop the live record of the previous week on and have a beer and kind of like watch along. So I'm living my dream at the moment. I'm ticking off another beer-based podcast in the UK.
What are you going to do next week?
I'm on Triple Hop next week.
Oh,
not really. But you were talking about your brewery merchandise. Obviously, at the moment, everybody's just buying beer online, direct, obviously, because that's where everything's sold. It appears at the moment. I keep eyeing up merchandise, but then I think, wasting money. Nobody sees me anyway.
You can have it on your next video. Mate, you never know. You might send you a few free beers.
I'm going to bring myself a bit higher to show off my merch.
Go on then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
The support of YouTubers is not what it used to be. It's all about Instagram now. Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
I'm a bygone era.
What are you supping then?
Well, I was under the impression it was a summery thing. So I was going to go with Tropical World from which has recently appeared in my crappy little local Tesco Express down the road, North Monk Beer, which is really good actually. And if anybody has made the pilgrimage over to North Leeds to Tropical World, which is kind of like a substandard kind of zoo experience. They've got some butterflies and some meerkats and a couple of snakes. I can see there being a kind of like a Yorkshire television production of like kind of like Tiger King, but all low rent really on there. But I'm on a can of Pressure Drops Lorikeet, so Galaxy New England IPA, and obviously bought direct from the brewery on their online shop. As this is how we consume beer these days, it appears.
No, I've not thought about buying Pressure Drop direct, so I'm going to write that down.
I was really impressed by the ones we got a few weeks ago. I don't think, I think that might be a new one, Rob, that you've got. I don't remember seeing that one on there, but the ones we got were all brilliant. We've only got the raspberry and chocolate stout left. We've drank all the rest and they were all great.
No, I'm a big fan. It's one of those breweries that I think for a while we're just a bit like, they're kind of in the shadows of the likes of like Kernel and Brew by Numbers and stuff like that. But I think over the last 12 months they've just improved massively. You kind of think, is it because of their close association with Verdant? But I mean, in my opinion, these guys have surpassed kind of Verdant. They were always the kind of the darlings of the Instagram crowd.
I'd agree with that. I think that they make beers that are like super well hopped, don't they, in the way that Verdant did. But Pressure Drop seem to also be quite consistently good in terms of price as well, and a lot easier to get hold of.
Balance as well for New England style stuff. It's quite balanced.
Rob, I was going to sort of referencing your YouTube videos and stuff. I always enjoy how you explain the flavors and the smells you're getting from your beers. So I was wondering what you're getting from this one.
Oh, blimey, putting me on the spot. I don't know. See, I'm in a real weird position because I lost my taste of sense of taste and smell a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
I don't think it was the thing. No, I've got it back. I think this is it. I'm really questioning myself on if it's actually come back fully or my power's depleted. But I mean, well, yeah, I did actually do a video of this the other week. It's very pineapple forward. It's not. I said it's not overtly kind of fudgy sweet. It's got a bit of bite to it, which is lovely. I'm really conscious of becoming massively more Yorkshire, surrounded by people from South Yorkshire. My dad's from Barnsley. Athersley, to be precise, Sean, if you know that part of the world.
That's literally where I'm from. I'm from Athersley.
Are you really?
Seriously, yeah.
Very near there should be a supermarket nearby. On can't remember the specific road, but Athersley. Oh, wow. So
I know Athersley, but obviously try to avoid going there wherever I can.
I'm concerned about turning into like a pastiche of Ian McMillan. Or John Shotworth just through by being guns surrounded. But yeah, it's definitely on that kind of on the can it says passion fruit. I don't know if I personally get that, but definitely pineapple and grapefruit. You know, one thing I often say if anybody asks me about the whole of my numerous podcast appearances, I've put myself around over the years trying to fill my sticker album of podcast appearances. I think it's one of those things where you kind of you're just making it up, complete charlatan, really. Say, oh, can't you really? When you're on the internet, YouTube's full of them.
Good stuff. Rob, for anyone that's maybe listening to this that isn't familiar with yourself and what you do, just give us a quick kind of rundown of Hopzine and what it is that you do.
Well, it's a YouTube channel. I mean, even though I start every video saying it's a beer review, it's not really. I guess it's kind of tasting notes of my experience. I mean, I've been doing it for it'll be 10 years in I think August or October. Seems like a long time. I was a young man and my hair was much darker than it currently is. So yeah, I do that. I used to write a text blog. I appear sporadically on podcast when I can wheedle my way into appearances. But yeah, so depending on the kind of frequency, it's a bit funny. I mean, like at the moment, I'm putting out like 3 videos a week, but trying to keep on top of what's available, what's current what people are interested. So you got to reflect that market. I mean, this is the beer. This is the kind of beer that I'm into. But I mean, so much kind of good stuff which is hitting supermarkets at the moment. I mean, you've got to reflect that kind of like side of the kind of beer drinker as well. So it's proper YouTube, and it's just opinion. It's not really based off of any kind of any skill or experience at all. It's I've done a bit of judging in the past and stuff like that. I felt massively intimidated first time I ever did that. I was on the table with Toby, who ended up opening up Red Willow, who left shortly after because he was extremely hungover and went to be sick in the toilets, and a very charismatic vicar. It was apparently it was Reverend Bryce Girdle, which is a fantastic name. It's like some Ealing comedy name, and apparently he was very well known to the people up at Hawkshead. But that was quite an experience. But so yeah. So it's kind of like, I guess I'm trying to step away from a lot of social media channels. I mean, people may know me from controversial comments on Twitter.
Rob, are you involved in anything else beyond those channels? You organise beer festivals or get involved with any brewery work or anything?
Well, there's a couple of things really. I mean, in the past, I've done a bunch of events with Northern Monk, which kind of led on to Hopzine. I was one of the kind of like founding people who worked on the first Hopzine.
I thought you were,
Yeah. Well, I did an event I did a couple of events with Northern Monk. The last one I did with them independently was all about British IPA. And from the experience of that and the success of that, Russ was kind of buoyed up by the day and thought, well, where can we take this? And then it kind of ended up being Hop City. So depending on how much I've drunk, I'll claim that I've inspired multiple beer festivals all around the world. I mean, I think if it's fair to say that Green City, other house Green City wouldn't exist if I hadn't have done that one little event that Saturday afternoon in Leeds. But I also I work on a casual basis at my local craft beer bar, Strawbells. More of a shop, which is the Triangle, which I think Sean's probably met Gavin, my good friend and employer, which has been a really interesting experience recently, because he's always like just probably like Sean has had to transition their business from a physical kind of shop to an online business, which is probably never planned to do that, but in the space of like 2 weeks when this all kind of went down, we started building a shop, and I went and took a lot of photographs and stuff like that, because my background, I'm a graphic designer by trade, but yeah, so I've been helping him get that up and running and kind of trying and supporting him in that with going out. He goes out and does the deliveries and the physical stuff and all that. But it's a real kind of eye opener. I mean, and you kind of see how people are consuming beer and how kind of tastes and trends kind of change because of circumstance, I guess. So yeah, so I've been every so often he drops me a couple of cans off to get me a bit of card up and get my lights out, and I put my photograph in, I put my phone in my mount on my little tripod, and I take some photographs of bottles of beer and stuff. It's the lockdown experience.
That's not bad. That's not a bad job to be doing. Yeah, on the subject of you mentioned there about obviously beer shops and transitioning to online and stuff like that. 'Cause it's been a few weeks since we've kind of talked about this in any kind of great depth. Because I think last time we touched on it, Sean, was when you were just changing to kind of your new way of working. And I think now, I mean, it's strangely sort of like I'm quite used to being in lockdown now. It kind of feels very normal, and actually like kind of getting hold of beer seems a bit more straightforward and a bit easier. And some of the breweries that it was quite hard to get stuff from maybe 2-3 weeks ago, it seems to be a little bit easier. I know you got some of the new North stuff in, didn't you, Sean, which had been proving a little bit hard to get hold of, and foolishly I missed out on that lot, which is my own fault for being half asleep on Friday afternoon. Yeah. But yeah, it does seem to be kind of like there's a bit of adjustment going on, and people seem to be kind of getting used to things now.
Certainly, I mean, getting beer is certainly easier. Has been really easier in the last 2 weeks. I noticed in the last week that there are a number of breweries who are beginning to now reopen. Laura's Torside T-shirt reminded me that I'd had an email from them a couple of days ago. They're going to be doing some deliveries this week. Welbeck Abbey are reopening this coming week as well. So Jeeves Brewery are doing some online stuff at Barnsley. They've bottled some of their beers. So there does seem to be much more beer available. The Verdant guys are back after a couple of weeks, and there's new Verdant stuff going into cans. So things do seem to be becoming a little bit easier, as perhaps the national sort of way of thinking seems to just be more turning towards how we're going to get out of this, and what's going to be the next stage beyond the current lockdown. Breweries seem to be thinking the same things now as well.
We definitely have had like the dust has sort of settled for everybody, in personally and probably for business, where they've found what is working for them and maybe what isn't working for them. And I think people are more understanding as well now. I mean, I know you've had a few delivery issues with your sort of stuff, and I've had some, and it's just one of the things. I think it's not the time to start badgering people about little problems you've had with stuff. We're all in this together, and there's a lot of strain on delivery companies as there is on supply and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think I got a nice case off Colonel, which I'm kind of just getting through. That's nice. And I got a nice tip off, I think a Beer O'Clock show I mentioned they were delivering. I thought, oh, all right, I'll have a look. So yeah, nice mixed case of theirs. But yeah, it's also cool that if you can get a supermarket that, like Morrison's and Tesco have dropped a few new ones in. So it just creates a little bit more interest if you are struggling to get anything from like a local supplier, like Sean or like anybody in Sheffield really. But it does mean there is something a bit new and a bit, something to look forward to possibly if you are just nipping down to your local supermarket, I suppose. But I think go on, sorry.
Because the furlough rules were, you have to be on them for 3 weeks, don't you? So I don't know if there's quite a lot of companies, not just in beer, but sort of restaurants and other shops who have set up delivery services and things as well. And I don't know if, I kind of get the impression there were some who sort of furloughed everything for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then have kind of thought, right, this is carrying on, and have had time to kind of let things calm down and settle and think things through, and then get things kind of set up over the past week. And I suspect that possibly has something to do with kind of the timescale as well. But
I think you're bang right, Laura. That's exactly right. And the furlough system does ease the pressure on many employees and employers, but at the same time, it allows people time to think, to plan. A lot of people have had to think on their feet and sometimes rushed some things, and a lot of the couriers at the moment are rushing and doing too much and should be capping what they're doing. But I think the furlough system has given people 3 weeks of time to be able to just calmly sit, plan, and get organised. So I think you're bang right with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at the start it was just panic, wasn't it? And that I mean, 3 weeks in the great scheme of things is not a long time, but with what's been going on in the last couple of months, that 3 weeks is really long enough to kind of figure out, oh, hang on, there is still a demand out there. People are still drinking. In fact, people seem to be drinking more. It seems like beer consumption is actually going up rather than going down, certainly at home anyway. And so, that kind of readjustment and stuff. And I was just thinking about it then, about options for me to get beer without kind of breaking social distancing rules. So obviously supermarket options, as Adam was saying, particularly Morrison's and Tesco have really upped their game there. I've got Archer Road that's not far away, which Laura, you mentioned earlier. Wine Rack down Charivale Road, which is still open. Turner's on Abbeydale Road, which I've moved recently, so that's really close to me as well, which is still open for a few hours in the afternoon. And then obviously the delivery options, there's Sean, there's Craft and Berry doing deliveries. We've got Hop Hideout doing deliveries. Plus quite a few other places in Sheffield as well who are doing delivery and takeout. So this kind of, I feared a few weeks ago there was going to be a bit of a shortage, and actually getting hold of beer might end up being really, really hard. And actually you kind of take a step back and think, it's not bad actually. There are plenty of options out there, and that's great. And I'm presuming from that there's still enough business for all those places to kind of still be turning over enough to be making a living out of it, which is brilliant. It's kind of what we want. And then it's just kind of the pubs come next, isn't it? And we've got that one to kind of crack once we get to a point the pubs can reopen, because it's still really hard to see how all the pubs that are currently closed will reopen and survive, which is probably a matter of discussion and concern for another day. But it's definitely 3 weeks has been a long time in beer, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I think on the pub thing, it does sound, I mean, as I say, it's probably a discussion for another day, but it does sound to start coming out a little bit more about kind of more realistic terms of when pubs will go back to what is classed as normal, and that is potentially looking maybe like Christmas. And myself, I'm obviously I'm a good pub goer and stuff, and love to go in pub, but realistically in my head, I wasn't even thinking anywhere before sort of September time as just kind of a normal, like try not think about it too much and just get used to this new way of living, I suppose. But it must be, it's a bit daunting time for that kind of part of the market who can't particularly just sell out, send stuff out to people. There is a few pubs who are doing stuff literally from their door, and I know like a couple of local pubs and stuff, but it's not, it's not enough to kind of cover everybody.
I got a picture at the weekend from a well-known Sheffield beer drinker, Mark Townley, who works for Sheffield Hallam. And his wife is Icelandic, and so he's gone across to Iceland. And he was in a pub over the weekend, and they've never closed. But the maximum you can have in any pub at any one time is 20 people. And so he was in there. He managed to get in as the group of 20. And I was trying to envisage how pubs might start to look at reopening in the UK, trying to cap 20 or 30 people, and the queues that you could imagine outside a place like the Rutland when they're already allowing 20 people in is mind blowing. I can't imagine how it can be planned and organised on that level. But that might be the first thing that we get in terms of pubs, allowing them to open, capping the number of people inside based on square metre of space, I suppose.
Yeah, getting a little
even so, what's the
stickers?
What's the
stickers outside?
What's the point in kind of going to a pub to kind of sit 2 meters away from everyone else? It's all a bit like going to the pub's about socialising and sharing a beer with people, and even if going with like friends, but having to all be 2 meters apart in your own box, it doesn't really kind of work. So it's going to be very interesting. Right, we've got just over 5 minutes left. So Sean, I want a 1 minute review of your beer.
James, we're miles away from each other and still enjoy drinking with each other. So there you go. 2 meters is not too bad. And my beer is absolutely stunningly good. Soft, sweet, barley sugars, a little bit of fruitiness from the Nelson Sauvin in there. Absolutely superb. Smooth as silk. Fantastic beer. I thought 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon might be a little bit too much, but it's just so easy. Absolutely beautiful. My beer of the month, actually, despite the fact that I had another beer of the month yesterday, the Colonel Hampton. So 2 beer of the month.
It's you can just call it beer of the day. It's fine. We're in lockdown. The normal rules go out the window. Laura, what's yours like?
It's really good. I'm impressed. It's I'd say, considering it's from the dual hops series, it's definitely more the sour that I think comes through rather than the hoppiness. But it's really, really clean. Just really easy to drink. Really nice level of acidity. Easy, not too overpowering. Very tasty. Enjoying it.
Sounds good. Adam, what's the north like?
As you'd expect, pretty much, really. 6%. It's in that kind of vein that they do, the 6% to 7% range. There's I can't think. We've all talked about how many we've had of theirs that have been a miss, and I can't think of any, to be honest. Very drinkable, nice bit of bitterness as well in there. Drinks its strength, really. You could polish quite a few of these off. But I'm hoping that this last week, maybe it's just there might be more supplies. So it's just a case of that we've in the past has been limited numbers, and now they're putting it out. But it's mad that you can get that £3 in a supermarket. It's bang on really. Got one more to polish off another day, but yeah.
James, we still have the Creek IPA and the normal transmission left as well. So you didn't miss all of the North.
It's the double dry hop transmission that I'm after. I've been eyeing that up for weeks and not been able to get hold of one yet. Even though I've been in Leeds quite a lot, still not managed to get hold of it. Right, the St Miles of the Desert, as you would expect, and very much how I remember it from last year. For a New England IPA, it's actually quite smooth. It's got quite a gentle feel to it rather than it kind of being too kind of aggressive or too hoppy. We touched on the word earlier, balanced, and it's just a really well balanced beer. Similar to North, that I don't think I've had a bad St Mars beer. I can't think of one that I've had. I've had a couple that I've thought, oh, that's not quite my style, but that's fine. That's just something that I appreciated it for what it was. I don't think I've had a beer that I thought, oh, that's not very good. I think everything they've done's been tremendous. And Rob, I kind of feel like I can sort of taste your beer through your description earlier, so I kind of feel a little bit bad kind of pushing you for any more information about it, but I'm assuming you've enjoyed it.
It is. It's lovely. I mean, it's quite interesting to have a single hop IPA. Once upon a time, it was a thing that was quite popular. Was the idea of the single hop IPA? I think with the New England style, sometimes it's a bit like using all the different colours in your paint pot, and it all just ends up being kind of slightly brownish purple, and you can put whatever hops in, and it all just tastes pretty similar. So it's quite nice to have something which is really prominent and really stands out as a specifically Galaxy. So, which I kind of like the idea that I think I know what certain hops taste like, but I don't know if I do anymore. More beer drink, less I know.
Makes a lot of sense. And we've got a new feature that we're doing from this week, which is not a major thing, but it's just, I always try and get like a nice screenshot from every episode that we put on social media. And there's always one of us that looks a little bit gormless. So we're going to stage one. We've all got to hold up our beers and beer cans. And then we can get like a good screenshot every week from now on. So nice big smiles. Even Sean's going to crack out a smile. There we go. That's it. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much. Rob, thank you for joining us. And have a tremendous week. And we will see you back here next weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.